Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh!
Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will, Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
He picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome. This is Freaky Friday on the Arrowhead Addict channel. I'm Adam Best, joined by the golden voice of Sterling Holmes, and of course, producer extraordinaire Richard, always making us look good. Sterling, how's it going, man?
I'm good. It's a beautiful summer day here in KC. I hope the rain holds off. Hoping to play a little pickleball after the show today. So hopefully the rain and storms don't roll through. But yeah, things are great here. We're just about, I guess, a little under 2 weeks now from training camp getting underway. So I'm damn excited.
It's practically a year-round enterprise now. NBA, the same thing. They have summer league. So as a mainly football, basketball fan, I just don't want to be in the wilderness very long. Football can't come back soon enough. So today we've got a little bit of a crazy show for you. I didn't know what to do. I woke up this morning. I have like kind of a tight rewrite deadline for my screenwriting stuff. I stick my face in. Have you ever done this? You take this like bowl, this big ass bowl of ice water, and you stick your face in it if you don't get a lot of sleep. And it just, all the swelling, all the grogginess, just, and then I rose up from that ice water, and with clarity, I saw a vision of the craziest hot take kingdom ever. And we're going to call it Hot Take Kingdom Thunderdome. It is Mad Max inspired from that movie series. And I think I like it even better because pre-show you told me you've never seen a Mad Max movie. That is fascinating.
Don't really know what Mad Max is. I am not sure.
So it's basically this series that started with an Australian filmmaker, George Miller, and Mel Gibson, where it's like this post-apocalyptic wasteland where there are like no rules, no laws. It's just madness. And Thunderdome was one of the movies. Fury Road was one of the new movies. It's been going on for like, I don't know, almost 50 years or something. But here's the explanation. So Hot Take Kingdom is typically straightforward, right? I present a hot take, usually lukewarm to semi-hot. Sterling either agrees to enter the castle or doesn't. This week is something else. The kingdom has lost law and order. Welcome to Hot Take Kingdom Thunderdome. This is Fury Road, baby. There are no rules. There is no rational thinking. Guitars are flamethrowers. Chrome spray paint is huffed. That's something they actually do. They shake up cans of spray paint and they just spray it in their face. Like they spray their face chrome. Pretty crazy. And I think this is the perfect place to purge my subconscious. So after each reckless bombshell prediction about the 2025 season, Sterling will either join me in Valhalla or speed away from the insanity of the take. So these are my most intrusive thoughts about next season. I'm going to rip through them rapid fire style. And I'm very curious what Sterling has to say about these 10 intrusive thoughts. So hot take 1, Elijah Mitchell leads the Chiefs in rushing yards. One of the reasons I think this is possible because everybody is just discrediting him and saying, well, he's not going to be able to stay on the field, so we shouldn't even consider him. Well, I dug around looking at Jerick McKinnon. That's the obvious comp, right? Jerick McKinnon, between that crazy 49ers system and how they chew up running backs and just their training staff and whatever was going on out there. and even a little bit in Minnesota. And then he comes to Kansas City, gets with Rick Burkholder, gets in a system that doesn't really abuse their running backs as much, and he stays on the field more than he ever has. But then I looked at Raheem Mostert in Miami. Raheem Mostert is getting on the field a lot more in Miami, and staying there than he did in San Francisco. And you think about Chris McCaffrey, and you think about how many running backs they chewed through last season, and just it just is a thing there. The way they milk those running backs and expect them to hit the hole with reckless abandon. I think there's something there. And even listening to smart Chiefs beat reporters and people in the know there in Kansas City, and there are many of them, everyone just seems to be writing this guy off. And I can't get it out of the back of my head because I don't think Rasheed Smith is ready to be a rusher in the National Football League. I think he's ready to be a receiver. And I just don't know how much juice Pacheco and Kareem Hunt have left. And they desperately need a guy that can rip off some 20 to 30-yard runs. I think this is the guy. Nobody's talking about it, but I can't get it out of my head. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is a very intriguing one. I could totally see it happening, although I'm almost putting Elijah Mitchell and Isaiah Pacheco in the same boat to an extent. It's what they look like post-injury, because if we're using that against and a knock on Pacheco, you kind of have to use it as against and a knock on Elijah Mitchell as well. Mitchell was more explosive from the get-go, so you're hoping that there's a little bit more juice still left even after and post-injury. I like this one because you're right. I think Kareem Hunt has a specific role, short yardage situations. I think Rasheed Smith, you're correct. It is going to be passing down situations almost exclusively, or as a pass catcher in general. And then it just leaves you Pacheco and Elijah Mitchell. Well, I've liked Elijah Mitchell for a long time. I liked him in San Fran. I've liked him on my dynasty fantasy football team. So I'll roll with you and say yes on this one, because I think this is a hot take that has a very high percentage chance of actually happening.
For how crazy it is.
Yeah, I think the odds are there. Yeah.
When you're comparing the injuries, I think there are two different kinds of running backs. Elijah Mitchell is, I'm not saying he's Jamal Charles, but he's more of a Jamal Charles. And Isaiah Pacheco, I'm not saying he's Larry Johnson, but he's more of a Larry Johnson. I think these guys we've seen in Kansas City, these guys that run into contact, don't seem to last as long as these guys who are a little bit more elusive. That is just kind of the history of the NFL. And what I'm banking on is it being a committee where the ball, they divvy up the pie 4 ways, which could get kind of frustrating for us. But I think you're going to see a lot of Isaiah Pacheco early. You're going to see Elijah Mitchell mixed in. If it's 3rd and 1 or, 2nd and 2 on the goal line, Kareem Hunt's going to, he's going to be the short yardage specialist because he's got a nose. I don't know what else he has left in the tank, but he certainly has that. He's great at converting. And then you're going to see some Rasheed Smith mixed in as a receiver. And I think if nobody has this high rushing total, it's Elijah Mitchell's for the taking potentially, or Kareem Hunt potentially. It's just wide open. Let's move on to hot take number 2. Some of these are positive. Some of these are not so positive. Again, intrusive thoughts I need to purge. This one is Hollywood Brown is washed after all the injuries. Okay. One of the things that I think happens to wide receivers when they suddenly lose their juice, we're seeing it happen to Cooper Kupp. We've seen it happen to Odell Beckham. We've seen it happen to T.Y. Hilton. The list goes on and on and on. When they have a litany of lower body injuries, that just is something they have a hard time coming back from as a wide receiver. I think it just affects the way you play the position. And I'm worried that his body has just suffered too many of those injuries. And he wasn't, he's not a particularly sturdy built guy in the first place. And I know last year was the clavicle and something different, but it just seems like they've been piling up with Hollywood Brown. I kind of think he's wide receiver 3 anyways. What do you think about Hollywood Brown's outlook for 2025?
Yeah, I think wash is too strong. I think he is wide receiver 3. If that is the same page as you, I think, it's Rasheed. I think it's Xavier. Then I think it's Hollywood Brown. I do think he is wide receiver 3 at this point, but I don't think washed is the right word. I think the yardage might not be there for him this year, but I think he's still going to be an effective and, quite frankly, a large piece of the offense. he's always been a fast guy, but I don't know if speed, at least top end speed, is his game. I do feel like a lot of it was his shiftiness as well. His past injury has no outlook to me on what he's going to look like this year. It was a clavicle. It was a sternum. It was a basically only Tyreek Hill, the only guy to have an injury similar to this, at least that we've known about in recent memory. This has no outlook for me on as far as the lower body or what's he look like post-injury. It's such a non-factor for me. As long as he's in football shape, he's good to go. This won't slow him down. He looked fine when he came back from injury last year. I actually thought he looked pretty darn good. Again, I think the intermediate routes is where he's going to thrive in this year in particular. I again, kind of as Joshua says, is he a 700-yard type of guy, a 1,000-yard type of guy? I liken him more maybe to a 700-yard type of guy in this offense, but maybe if he was on the Panthers, he might be a 900 or 1,000-yard type of guy. Maybe he has one more year of that left in him. I just think, again, washed is too strong of a word. I think yards will take a downturn from his peak, if you will, but I think he's going to be a fairly effective and, quite frankly, maybe one of, if not the best wide receiver threes in the NFL this year.
Fear-based me worries that he's going to not even get to 300 yards. Rational me thinks he's going to get more like 500 yards. I think he's still a very useful player. I think he's always been a little miscast as a Deshaun Jackson, a downfield field stretcher. His ball tracking he's not in that category. I mean, he can stretch the field if he's the best you got, and sometimes he comes down with it. A lot of times he doesn't. It seems like he and Xavier Worthy have some similar issues there. I'm hopeful Xavier Worthy can grow out of, but I just worry about him. I think he did look good at times. I think he did not look very good in the Super Bowl, but then again, nobody really did. So that is one of my bigger concerns this season. Hot take 3, Josh Simmons makes the Pro Bowl in year 1. Now, I know this is a huge hot take, but these comparisons coming in. Jason Peters, Trent Williams, the way people are talking about him, not necessarily people who are prone to hyperbole either. It just makes me feel like we have a top 5 pick that happened to slide all the way to 31 because most teams can't gamble a first-round pick on a guy they're worried might not see the field this year. A lot of coaches and GMs are worried about their job security. Brett Veach and Andy Reid don't have to worry about that, right? So their training staff, their medical staff felt comfortable with Josh Simmons. He's ahead of schedule. I think there's a good chance he wins that job, comes out and is the stud left tackle they've been waiting for. And then Jalen Moore is one of the better swing tackles in the league. That's kind of my hottest hot take for Josh Simmons.
Yeah, I don't see it right now. Possible, yes, but I'm looking at it right now because when you look at quarterbacks or running backs or even wide receivers, there's so many. So often they have reserves because guys won't play or guys are injured and so they have the backups go. Like, for example, last year at quarterback, Russell Wilson was an all-star or a Pro Bowl. Sam Darnold, Drake May and Russell Wilson in the AFC. I mean, that's absurd, right? Sam Darnold actually probably deserved it. So didn't mean to take a shot at him. But again, the point remains a lot of backups get in. So I was looking down at tackle. Not really the case. Last year in the AFC, Rashawn Slater, Deion Dawkins, Laramie Tunsil, Ronnie Stanley. That was every tackle. They don't do left or right. That was just 4 tackles. So you're saying he has to be one of the best 4 tackles in the AFC. I don't see it. And even if he is, I don't think he'll get it just because of name recognition. I think you're good luck getting it over. Slater's still there, right? Deion Dawkins still there. Ronnie Stanley still there and healthy. And Laramie Tunsil. Well, I guess Laramie Tunsil's now gone. So that helps a little bit. That does help the case. I just think, again, it feels like a lot of times it's a name recognition situation. And by the way, I think Joe Alt probably sneaks in also for the Chargers now if we're going left and right, which is going to be difficult. So I'll say no. I like the thought process. I want it to happen, but if you told me even like would I place $5 on this bet, I think the answer would be no unless the odds were like plus 100,000, because I think you're basically just lighting $5 on fire.
It is a name recognition thing. It also sometimes is a team recognition thing. So the Chiefs quite frequently have offensive linemen that have made Pro Bowls. There was a year where I was kind of surprised Eric Fisher made it. So crazier things have happened. But again, we are going balls to the wall with these predictions. Take number 4, another crazy one, but maybe not as crazy as you think when you actually dig in to the sample size from last season. And that's Rasheed Rice leads the league in receptions, not receiving yards, not touchdowns, receptions. Digging in, and again, it was a super small sample size, but he was on pace for 1,500 yards. He was on pace for an astronomical amount of receptions. And if you look at like the reception perception breakdown of his season last year, he was on his way to having one of the top 5 or 6 zone beating seasons in the history of their tracking. So I just think at a time where Hollywood Brown might be slowing down, where Travis Kelce might be slowing down as well, more on that in a minute, and Xavier Worthy really isn't ready to be a wide receiver 1. I don't know that he ever is going to be. I think this offense is going to run through Rasheed Rice. I think he's ahead of schedule. I don't think the suspension is coming. And if he stays healthy all year and the Chiefs run the offense through him, you could see it, because they're always going to be among the league leaders in throw rate. Sterling, Rasheed Rice, reception league leader. How nutty is that?
No, I think it's one that I would, again, I'd be intrigued of putting some money down realistic, because I think the odds would be there, and I think it's a good possibility. I'd for sure say top 3. I'm thinking right now in the AFC. Right. NFC, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown, you look at him, you look at JSN for Seattle, you'd have to imagine he's going to get a lot now that it's devoid of talent besides him in Seattle. I think in the NFC, I'd probably go with those 2 dudes just off the top of my head. But the AFC, I think you're looking at Jamar Chase, right, who always is going to be in the conversation. I think you're, and maybe even, in the NFC, you also have CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson, who kind of in that boat, and maybe even Drake London in Atlanta, guys with a lot of receptions. But yeah, in the AFC, it's Jamar. I think I'd put Rasheed Rice almost 2. Again, it's tough to say, is he going to miss any games? Because I was going to say Tyreek, but Tyreek always misses a game or 2. So that almost always knocks him down. And I don't trust Tua consistently week to week. The name that I think is also intriguing in the AFC would be Ladd McConkey for the Chargers. I think that'd be an intriguing name, but I don't think the Chargers will throw the football as much as KC, as you brought up. I think that's a very good and astute point. I think, yeah, I would. This is something I would for sure put money on. Realistically, I actually might do it. Like, do I 100% think he's going to? No, but I think it might be him and Jamar Chase in the AFC. Now that I'm really, really thinking about it, I like that.
The odds are going to be pretty crazy too. And just going through that list of names, I'd also add Garrett Wilson, but Garrett Wilson is playing in an offense that, while he doesn't share the field with a lot of talent, they're going to be running the ball a lot. And Jamar Chase shares the field with T. Higgins. CeeDee Lamb, they're going to throw a lot. He is a target magnet, maybe the best target magnet we've got in the NFL, given how they use him, his alignment and everything. But now he shares the field with George Pickens. You keep going down the list. JSN, they have committed. They got rid of Geno Smith. They want to be a running team now. They got rid of DK Metcalf. Amon-Ra St. Brown, they lost their offensive coordinator. Jameson Williams is on the rise. Sam Laporta is there. They really want to pound the rock too. You keep going through these things. Justin Jefferson has a de facto rookie quarterback and shares the field with a lot of talented pass catchers. So if this offense funnels through Rasheed Rice, he's going to be up there. He's going to be up there. I think that's a good bet. And I hear these fantasy people asking the question between who's going to have more catches and more yards and be the better fantasy asset straight up, Xavier Worthy or Rasheed Rice. And I'm just like, have I lost my mind here? Is this really even a question? Maybe I'm just biased and leaning too hard towards number 4, but I think it's a pretty obvious answer there.
Yeah, I don't think it's close. I mean, I think it's maybe, in a specific game, you'll see Xavier Worthy do it, but I think overall, week to week, you're going to see a lot of consistency with Rasheed Rice. And again, you're right. You and I are in the same boat. We're excited about him, but maybe I'm too excited. But I really think you're looking at a very consistent floor every week with Rasheed Rice, with the ability to, with his yak ability to go for 6 for 100 and a touchdown nearly every single game. And I don't think you'd be surprised.
And this isn't a knock on Xavier Worthy. I just don't think you want your offense running through someone of his stature. You want him to be a complementary piece who adds explosive plays. I don't really want Worthy getting more than 6 touches a game. Rasheed Rice can handle 12 touches a game, no problem. He's a durable guy. He breaks tackles. That's not Xavier Worthy's game. Now, if Rasheed Rice puts up 1,500 yards and is among the league leaders in receptions, that's going to take away from someone else's total. And my next hot take is Travis Kelce posts only 600 yards receiving during the regular season. I think they manage his load. He turns it up in the playoffs because he still has something left. I think last year he ran out of gas, and I know this is basically every year he's played a whole season, he's had over 800 yards. So this is a pretty low number, but I just don't think Travis Kelce particularly cares about regular season receiving stats now, especially now that his 1,000-yard streak has been broken. Where are you at with this number for Travis Kelce?
Yeah, thanks. I hate it. I don't believe that's going to happen. I still think he's a guy who's going to go for around 850 on the cusp of 9. My co-host for Radio 810 out here in KC, Jason Anderson, he was out there at Tahoe, got some pictures of Kelce from last year compared to this year. And wow, he looks a lot different, a lot more in shape. So it wasn't just words. It wasn't just Travis Kelce being, I need to get more in shape. He did it. He looks great. He looks slimmer. I don't know what's going to look like on the block side for him, but I don't know if that matters as much. He's going to be a lot more effective with the ball in his hands. It's not going to look like Xavier Worthy, but it'll look more like Kelce, I think, of a couple of years ago, which is very valuable. So, no, I think, the catches will go down, some of the receptions, because it's going to be funneled through Rasheed Rice. But I think some of the efficiency numbers and yards after catch, all that's going to go back to more of the norm for Travis. So, no, I'm out on this one for you. I think he's at least getting 800 yards this year.
His yards after the catch last year, I forget the exact number, but it was down like 2 yards or something like that. It was down significantly. And you got to wonder, like, is this the cliff? I would prefer for them to cut down on his playing time significantly. I know you can't just put him on layaway, right? You can't just, hey, we're going to put you on ice until the postseason comes around. But I think he did run out of gas. He looked really good in that Texans game where he had a couple weeks off. And then when he was playing every week, I thought he looked worse against the Bills. He looked even worse in the Super Bowl against the Eagles. So they just got to keep him fresh. And I think that is, if there's something that I'm going to lose sleep about this team, it's probably, other than left tackle, Travis Kelce slowing down and staying healthy and staying fresh. The next hot take, Sterling, you're going to love this one. Big number, but George Karlaftis has 15 sacks playing alongside Chris Jones. Something happened about, 70% into last season. Part of it was Charles Omenihu coming back and taking some of the load off of George Karlaftis so he didn't have to play a million snaps. But I think we saw, like, late in the season and especially in the playoffs, a light come on for George Karlaftis to finally, like, take his game from, like, this is an above average starter to this is maybe not an elite Max Crosby, Myles Garrett type pass rusher, but top 12-ish pass rusher with maybe the ceiling of Trey Hendrickson, who doesn't win with flash, but is technically sound. His motor never stops. He's stout against the run. Could he become that kind of player? I could see it. I'm not saying it will happen, but I could see it.
Yeah, this is intriguing. I don't know if I can get to 15. But what's the difference between 13 and 15? It's just 2 sacks. Can you do it 2 times, 2 extra times? He's really grown even more than I was
saying regular season.
Yeah, I know. I was a guy who was very, very high on Karlaftis. You know me. I before the draft happened, I said the Chiefs should get Karlaftis. They did. I was thrilled by it because he could play right then and there. I go, you have a legit top end defensive end 2 now. Like, you have a guy you never have to worry about. But he's grown even more than I expected. And I've been very impressed with Karlaftis. Yeah, I think this is an intriguing one. I think 15 is probably a skosh high, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities. It's also a contract year a little bit for Karlaftis, right? Because you still have a 5th-year option, but you want to get a long-term extension done, and both sides want to probably get it done before that 5th year. So you're going to see a very motivated George Karlaftis, and you supposedly have Charles Omenihu all season long, and that's when he's looked his best, is when Charles is on the other side of him. So, yeah, I'm intrigued, very intrigued by this one, Best.
I didn't like the way George Karlaftis started last season either. I thought he came out of the gate slow, and his pass rush win rate wasn't looking very good. But then he ended up being, I think, 14th in pressures among all edge rushers, which was very good and really makes me optimistic about it. And sacks are kind of fluky. They're really up to variance. And if Chris Jones is going to continue to be the focal point of offensive coordinators and be among, if not the most double team player in the league, that's really going to free up Furious George to do his thing. So I think it's possible. And if you think back to Trey Hendrickson around this point in his career in New Orleans, he wasn't quite the Trey Hendrickson that he is now. So it wouldn't be crazy to see a guy like George Karlaftis go from, yeah, he's a top 20 or so guy, he's like good starter, to, okay, this is one of the dozen or so best edge rushers in the league, even if he isn't quite like top shelf, one of those guys. He's not, I don't think he's ever going to be like prime Khalil Mack, but top 12 or so is still very good. Hot take number 7. I'm feeling this one a lot. I don't know if I believe it, but there's something in my subconscious that keeps pushing it. And it's that the Raiders are better than the Broncos and Chargers. Why do I feel this way? First of all, on paper, the Broncos make sense, but I'm just not feeling like they have enough top tier talent. And I'm a Sean Payton believer too, but Bo Nix had exceptional health on their offensive line last year. He was protected as well as any quarterback in the National Football League. I'm not sure I'm buying their running game. Their defense, we know defense isn't sticky. We know it's not that sticky. Like, yes, they were number 3 in the league last year defensively, somewhere around there. The year before, they were not very good. They gave up a 70 burger to the Dolphins. I think Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert are still running. Hey, a very fun game to pull up on YouTube, by the way, if you're a Broncos hater like myself and want to see them get torched for 70 points. The Chargers, I don't like Greg Roman as an offensive coordinator. I think they brought in Amari and Hampton, and they've got Justin Herbert, who's this, I don't know, he's this Greek god of a quarterback potentially, and they just need to unleash him and let him go. And they still want to pound the rock. I don't think they've surrounded him with enough receiving talent. I know they keep trying, and I like Ladd McConkey, but I just don't really believe in that team. And then you look at the Raiders. They've got, I think Patrick Surtain is defensive player of the year, defending defensive player of the year, one of the best corners in the league. But I think Max Crosby is a more impactful player, more impactful defensive player. He's the best pass rusher, along with Chris Jones, in the AFC West. And then you look at the other side of the ball, and you got Pete Carroll overseeing that defense. You bring in Chip Kelly, who I think is an innovative play caller, and Geno Smith, one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league. And with Brock Bowers and Ashton Jeanty and Jacoby Myers and that group of skill players, I think they have the best group of skill players among these teams. So I can definitely tell myself a story where the Raiders are the second best team in the AFC West.
I don't want to do it because I thought that the Raiders were going to be solid last year. That was one of my hot takes last year, was the Raiders were going to be 500. Or I think I said at least 8 wins. They did not have at least 8 wins last year. Shockingly, I know. Part of that was because I thought Christian Wilkins was going to really help open things up alongside Crosby. So now you have that back, right? So now you have Wilkins and Max Crosby. I think he's very underrated on how good he is. I think the Broncos have the highest floor of any team. I think they take a step back this year. I think they have the highest floor because I think if you told me they have the best defense in the NFL, I'd believe it. I think their defense is great. But I like sometimes betting on the sophomore slump for teams that overperform year one. And I'd probably take the under on the Broncos this year. That's just my personal opinion. I'd take the over on the Raiders. I got to look up what the win total is, but I would probably take the over. Chargers are intriguing. I've actually been pretty not enamored, but I've liked some of the moves they've made. I'm not buying in though, they're going to compete with the Chiefs this year, but I think they're a pretty solid team, and I like the Amari Hampton pick. I get what they're doing because their offense looked the best when J.K. Dobbins was there and healthy. So you get a guy who can potentially take that role and hopefully be healthy in Amari Hampton. I understand why. I like Harbaugh as well as the head coach. So all that to be said, I don't have a feel. I think if you were to ask me right now how it finishes, I would say Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders. But I could see a list of anyone from 2 to 4, and I could see a wide array of wins. If you tell me the Raiders won 10, I believe it. I think Broncos capped, I'd probably say 11. Chargers capped, probably 12. I think the Chargers probably have the highest upside. I think the Broncos have the highest floor. Raiders might have some of the most variance.
I really like Justin Herbert, especially the idea of Justin Herbert. But man, football media loves this guy. And I get the theoretical concept of the player, the way he's built, how smart he is, the way he carries himself. He's got, there's an argument for him having the most arm talent in the NFL. The guy has an absolute cannon, and at 6'6" or whatever, there's not a throw he can't make, really. But it's just between the coaching staff and how like wound up tight he is, we just haven't seen him really let loose and deliver on the promise of that rookie season. Then you have Bo Nix, who I think is kind of like a Truman Show quarterback. Last season, everything was like orchestrated so perfectly for him between the way the defense played and the offensive line. I thought Cortland Sutton was fantastic last year. Always seems to play his best against the Chiefs, right? And what I need to see from Bo Nix is he has to be a little bit better outside of structure. When the line isn't perfect and Sean Payton doesn't hit the easy button for him, we just need to see a little bit more. I haven't seen it yet. I have seen Geno Smith last year. I thought he had offensive line-wise one of the worst situations in the league by far. And I think he's walking into a better situation coaching staff-wise and offensive line size-wise and probably even surrounding talent-wise, because I like Ken Walker and DK Metcalf, but Brock Bowers and Ashton Jeanty are near generational guys, if not generational guys. So those are my feelings on the Raiders. Like True Serum, Sane Adam, I'm taking Broncos, Chargers, Raiders, but I do think the Raiders actually have a shot. Hot take number 8. You guys really are going to hate this one. This is the year Josh Allen finally wins it all. I think I just want to brace everybody. I really do think he's going to get one eventually. He's that good. I don't really know if it's this year, but you have a guy who's the Peyton Manning to Patrick Mahomes is Tom Brady. And we think Peyton Manning just came out of the gate a finished product. He didn't win a Super Bowl until year 10. It took him a while. He was in the shadow of the Patriots, and it took him a while to break out from that. This is a similar situation. And I think someone as talented, as driven, and as smart as Josh Allen, he goes to bed every night and he's thinking about, how do I beat the Chiefs every single night? And I think eventually he's going to figure it out. And I just worry that it might be this year. Sterling, do you think Josh Allen figures it out this year, any year? Where are you at with the Buffalo Bills?
Oh, they'll win one eventually. He's the second. To me, it's Mahomes 1, Allen 2, and I think it's those two guys. Lamar has a case as well. I think top 3. Then I think Burrow's 4. Allen's like Mahomes, and I think he elevates his offense more than any other quarterback. Lamar to an extent, but you have to have a specific offense set up for Lamar. Joe Burrow, I think, is the easiest plug and play in most systems, right? I think they all have their strengths and their weaknesses. But Allen did so much last year with so little. And it's not like the weapons this year are outstanding. He's got a solid offensive line, probably an average to below average weaponry group. Defense is slightly above average. But Allen just makes that team so damn competitive every single game. Again, I don't know if it's this year, but I always say this. If the Chiefs ever, knock on wood, and I hate it, were they ever to lose in the playoffs, I want the Bills to win the Super Bowl. One, I feel for the fans. 4 straight in the night, 4 straight, lost all 4. It's always cold. They're passionate. I think they deserve it. And by the way, I always love what they do for charity. They seem to be a great group. Every fan base has a bunch of knuckleheads. We know that. Even in Kansas City, we have some knuckleheads here too. But the Bills, for the majority of the time, I think have a good fan base, an understanding fan base, a knowledgeable fan base, a fun fan base. And if the Chiefs can't win in the AFC, I'd root for the Bills. That's where I'm at with that. So I hope it doesn't happen because that means the KC's winning. But if KC ever loses one, I'll acquiesce and say the Bills can win it for the AFC.
Bills Mafia, I think Buffalo fans are good sports. I have good exchanges with them. No real deep animosity at all. They're not like Philadelphia Eagles fans who are going to give me a stroke at some point. I would like to see them win it all too if it can't be the Chiefs, because I think Mahomes' story in this era becomes a little bit more impressive if he has somebody who truly becomes Peyton Manning and not just Peyton Manning hopeful. You know what I mean? So that would help the story.
I think Josh Allen's basically there, though. Like Josh Allen, I think you're looking at the MVP now. You're looking at what he's done even in playoff games. The issue is it's just when they go against the Chiefs. And it's not like he's been bad against the Chiefs. That 13-second game was not on Josh Allen, right? He's had a few games where he's gone nearly toe-to-toe with Patrick. It's just the Chiefs and Patrick have pulled it out. Again, I think that Josh Allen's the second-best quarterback in the NFL. I see Allen says it's not about what you deserve, it's about what you earn. You're right, and I think the Bills will earn a spot eventually because I think they're that good, and it's because I think Josh Allen's that good. If you put Geno Smith on the Bills, they're winning 9 games. I'm thinking that's a slightly above average quarterback right there, right? You put Baker Mayfield, who I like, on that, they're winning 9-10 games. Like, what Josh Allen can do for that team, I think, is very, very impressive. Again, he's the only guy I think that when he's on can go toe-to-toe with Patrick. The difference is Patrick is just almost always on. You very rarely see Patrick have a bad game. But when you're talking about the height of their powers, it's damn close between Patrick and Josh. Still leading Mahomes, but I think it's close.
Especially in the playoffs. Mahomes just, you don't worry about his decision-making as much in those high-leverage moments. I think that's still what separates him from Josh Allen, from Lamar Jackson, is just those high-leverage moments where you've seen Josh, make some decisions that aren't the best. I mean, it happens to all of them. Or you've seen Lamar fumble in a key spot. He is the one player when it's like 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 4. I'm just like, move the chains already. And I think to myself, this must be what it feels like to be a fan rooting against Patrick Mahomes. So he gives me a glimpse into the window of what it's like to root against Patrick Mahomes. And I think that's the biggest compliment you can give a quarterback in the modern NFL. Hot take number 9. Leo Chanel is the team's best linebacker. This is a scorching hot one, but there might be a little bit of merit there. Sterling, what do you got?
If you go by PFF, I'll say yeah, because PFF loves Leo. But overall, if you use valuability, amount of snaps, all of that, I'll say no. It's still Nick Bolton. It might be getting closer to Drew Tranquil. I'll start getting a little closer there, but Nick Bolton's just too valuable. And again, it's a lot. I always say Nick Bolton's a lot like Yadi Molina, like where it's like the numbers don't always do him justice, but then you realize what he does, how he calls the game, and you're like, yeah, well, the defense looks great because of Nick Bolton. Is he the fastest guy? Is he the strongest guy? Is he gonna always do, provide something for Yachty? Was it hitting home runs or always getting on base? For Nick Bolton, is it catching balls that hit him in the shoulder pads? Is it always getting downhill as quick as possible? He does a lot. Yeah, but it's also about between the ears and what he does for the rest of the defense to make that 11 the best 11 they could possibly be. And as much as I like Leo, I think we've seen, at least according to the coaching staff, from how they've played him, he's a part-time player. They're not going to put him in a situation for him to fail. They're putting him in the best particular spots that they know he can have the best and most impact he possibly can on those snaps. So since the coaching staff's done that and the defense has been really good over the past couple of years, seemingly they know what they're doing. That's what I'm alluding to with Leo. So I think he's a great player. I think his role's, he's perfect in that role. If he sees a slight uptick in snaps, sure, I'm definitely intrigued to see it, but I'm not going to go he's more important or he's better than Nick Bolton.
I feel you. So you're saying he's going to kind of get Willie Gayed, where Spags thinks he tops out at a certain amount of responsibility and can't handle a full-time workload because...
Was he wrong about Willie Gay?
I don't think he was wrong about Willie Gay, but I think not only is Leo Chanel, and this is pretty crazy to say, but relative athletic score backs it up, not only is he a better athlete, I think he's a smarter player. And Nick Bolton and Drew Tranquil are brilliant guys. They are as smart as any linebackers you'll find in the league, those two guys. I mean, they really are. One like graduated in 10 days from Mizzou, and the other one's like the chess champion of NFL players. But I think Leo Chanel is pretty bright. I think he's a better player than Willie Gay. I really do. I think he's a more consistent player. I think that they should use him more. I would like to see him more. And I guess what I'm envisioning in the most upside scenario possible for Leo Chanel is he blossoms into someone who's better in pass coverage, because we saw a few glimpses last year of, okay, he's improved in pass coverage. He looks pretty good there at times. He's grading out pretty well there. What if they actually committed to him being on the field instead of 40% of the time, 70% of the time? Would his high level of play, grow with the expanded role? I don't know that it would, but if we're telling ourselves a story about Leo Chanel, that's the story I'm telling myself, how he gets there. I don't really believe it myself, but sometimes I think about Leo and think, man, I don't know if we're squeezing every ounce of juice out of this player. That's what I'll say. The last one, and this is a tough one. This is probably going to make you guys mad, but remember, these are intrusive thoughts. These are worries. These are anxieties. And hot take number 10, Andy Reid has lost his nerve and has lost his juice. I'm thinking back to last year, and I'm just thinking, man, these it is hot take Thunderdome. We have to get crazier than regular hot take kingdom, or it's not any fun. But if I'm trying to like push into this scorching hot take, the RPOs weren't working. They lost more expected points added on those plays than any team in the league. I thought the screen game looked as putrid as it has at any time in Kansas City. In terms of the running game, it didn't have any pop. I think he still struggles on those short yardage conversions, although Kareem Hunt did help. And he just totally capitulated on the vertical passing game, on going deep. He just said, we're going to be 5 yards in a cloud of dust. That's the way we're going to play offense in Kansas City. We're going to expect our quarterback to be perfect. Games are going to be very close until the end of the fourth quarter. And then Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Steve Spagnuolo being clutch, they're going to take us home. That's the way we're going to do things. I'm not saying Andy Reid sucks. I'm not saying he's not an offensive genius. I'm not saying he's not a great coach. I'm wondering if he's been in Kansas City for a long time, if he's been coaching for a long time, and maybe he's lost his ability to put his foot on the gas. And I think part of this too is they don't have a lot of fresh thinkers in that offensive coaching staff. He brought back Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy's a yes man, right? I would have liked to have seen someone else come in that kind of like brought some new ideas, like Abraham Lincoln's team of rivals, to mix it up and to push Andy to grow and try other things.
Those guys are dead, Adam. Those guys are no longer alive.
Well, the concept is not dead, though, right?
I hate this with every ounce of my being because I've been on record saying I think Andy Reid is going to be incredible this year. I think he is going to I dislike this one so much. He went 15-2, 15-1 in games that mattered. I understand the thought process. I thought last year he had a really good chance for coach of the year. I'm so out on this. Yeah, I think there were some things offensively that were stagnant and could have changed, but that's offensive line, running back, and wide receiver base. That's injury base. I'm so out, man. I think Andy Reid's going to look the best we've seen him look since what, 22?
Yeah.
It was 22.
They've been about the 15th best offense in the league the last 2 years. They were the number one offense in the league in 2022. So that's part of the wondering. Again, these are my deepest, darkest thoughts, my biggest worries about the team. Andy Reid, as a CEO last year, I thought he did a tremendous job managing the team and getting them across the finish line each week. I think they could have certainly been more aggressive. I mean, that ended up sort of being their Achilles heel. My biggest concern about the Super Bowl going in there is like, yeah, I know you guys can beat any team on the planet in the fourth quarter in the last 2 minutes. If the game is close in the last 2 minutes and Patrick Mahomes and his coaching staff and Chris Jones have the opportunity to win the game, they're winning that game. But what happens if you get down by 3 touchdowns? Like, I don't know that they have that gear that they used to when they got down 24-0 to the Houston Texans and they just flipped the switch and come back. I don't know that they can do that anymore. I would like to see them find that. I think they can. I think Andy Reid has probably taken a long look in the mirror, and at times he can be stubborn, but I think he's going to have some new ideas and some new wrinkles. The last time we saw him, he was shell-shocked. He kind of refused to adapt. I mean, maybe he just didn't have anywhere to go. I have a hard time believing that they couldn't try, throw more things at the wall than they did in the Super Bowl. So I think Andy Reid's going to be fine, obviously, but at some point, every coach reaches the point, even Bill Belichick, where it's like, it's time. And I think that's 4 or 5 years away. I really do, at his age and what he's done. But I think offensively, play calling wise, it's a fair concern to have if he can refine what he had in between 2018 and 2022. We've seen him beat this question before. At the end in Philadelphia, people wondered if Andy Reid's best days were behind him. And they couldn't have been more wrong. His best days were in front of him, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So I know I had to put on my villain hat there, but it's Thunderdome, guys. Let's get you guys out of here. Our final segment is What's Spinning Sterling. What are you listening to, man?
Well, I think it is last week. Or no, we were gone. So I guess this will work. Morning View by Incubus. Just saw them in concert on Tuesday, whenever the 8th was. Morning View. They did their album in their entirety, top to bottom, and then they did the best hits after that. But I love that album by Incubus. So Morning View by Incubus, they were really, really good. Really, really good. Better than the first time I saw him. I think Brandon Boyd's voice has just either gotten better. I don't know if he was sick the first time, but he sounded great. And then I think I might go see Whiskey Myers tomorrow in KC. So also Whiskey Myers. Shout out Starlight Theater in Kansas City. Love Starlight. Really cool venue to catch a concert, especially in the summertime when it's warm outside. So shout out Starlight Theater in KC.
There you go. And you did do the same thing 3 weeks ago.
I did do that. I figured I did. That's why I said, okay, and also Whiskey Myers.
You know, we've got different listeners, and you hadn't gone to the concert yet. So,
yeah, so there we go.
So you're reporting back from the concert. I'm going to go because this album came out today, and I've been waiting for it 15 years. The rap duo Clips, the Thornton brothers, came out with Let God Sort 'Em Out. And I'm just proud, them showing that guys in their 40s can still bring it. I've got a stake. I'm invested in that. I'm invested in the summer of old dudes refusing to age. You got Brad Pitt rocking the box office in F1. So keep it going, guys. You're giving me a lot of hope that we don't have to get old and crusty and not have any game as we age. Thanks to the chat. You guys always bring it. You guys keep us awake. You keep us energized. I love it when the show's interactive. If you dig Arrowhead Addict, here's how you can help our community grow. First off, subscribe on YouTube. That way you never miss a show, a short, anything we're doing here, a special series. Last year we did the top 50 Chiefs of all time. That's still evergreen, guys. That's still relevant. Go check that out. If you're an audio listener on either Spotify or Apple, please consider giving us a 5-star review. That will help people find us. And on Apple, leave a question. Anything you want to ask us about the Chiefs, our personal taste in music or movies, what we think about the NFL, what we think about Kansas City. We'll get to that on Thursday's show. Lastly, check out the mothership, Matt Connor and everybody over there at arrowheadaddict.com. We'll get you primed for training camp, which Sterling pointed out is right around the corner in the grand scheme of things. Join us live next Friday at 3 p.m. Central, right here on the Arrowhead Addict channel. Until then, go Chiefs.